Feel the rhythm, hear the crowd. African tackle, we're singing loud. Boots on the ground, hearts in the game. Every episode, never the same. Kick it, pass it, feel that beat. Soccer stories can't be beat. From Ghana to the US, we unite. African tackle, shining bright.
Hello, our wonderful listeners. Welcome back to the African Tackle Podcast. You're here with your favorite co-hosts, Fifi Baiden and
Emmanuel Nana Akyen.
So we just want to say thank you once again. We took a little bit of a pause, but we are back. We're going to try and keep everything consistent. And so we're super excited about continuing this project, and hopefully you guys enjoy the content that we're going to put out there. Today's topic, Nana, it's a very interesting one. Something that I'm sure you as a coach, you've been dealing with, probably come up a lot with your parents. Playing multiple sports versus specializing in one sport. And I know this past week, I had a parent meeting, and one of the parents was basically like, hey, coach, I'm actually getting tired of driving my daughter to different sports. I take her to basketball, I'm going to gymnastics, I'm going here. At what point do I say enough is enough? I would just want her to focus on one sport and focus on whether her passion is just soccer. And so, Nana, what are your thoughts about this?
That's a heavy one, but an exciting question. My personal take on kids playing multiple sports is there's a benefit, obviously, in terms of kids playing multiple sports. But I also think at some point there has to be a decision making, which means something must be given up and something must be retained, right? So depending on the age, I would say the age plays a huge factor in whether a parent chooses to have the kid play one sport or be exposed to multiple sports. For instance, if I have, let's take Jimmy, for instance. Jimmy is 6 years old. Jimmy is really beginning his sports journey. He's beginning the journey in terms of exploration. So I think for a 6-7-year-old or 5-year-old, expose them to as much of the sports world as possible. Number one, there are so many benefits, which is they learn, in basketball, they will learn to use hand-eye coordination because they have to throw the ball. In tennis, again, hand-eye coordination versus, and then movement as well, body mechanics. Soccer, unless they're a goalkeeper, they are not really using their hands, right? There's some hand-eye coordination movements out there as well. And then, of course, if they're a field player, then they have to learn how to ball handling skills. And at that age, the most important thing should just be the focus on the ball, to get them comfortable with the ball, to be one with the ball. But as they transition to say, I think as you get to high school age, as you get to 12 years old and up, as you turn 12 and up, this is where, and some people might not like to hear this, but some of our audience, I can only speak for what I know. In my country, we specialize in one sport, and that's it. But I understand we're in American culture, and so some people might have a pushback on this. Some of the audience might not like what I'm about to say, but it's the truth, which is when you're 12, 13, 14, 15, you have to make a decision because if you want to, say the kid wants to play high-level soccer or basketball, you can't still be dancing around these multiple sports when you are 12, 13, 14. It's a waste of time, honestly, because the kids in your age who wants to play at the highest level elsewhere are making that decision to play one sport, to just focus on that one sport. Right. And the more time, common sense dictate that the more time, and it's even scientifically proven, that the more hours you put into something, the more knowledge and the more enhancement your skills become. So I think, for me, my humble opinion, and this might be different for different people, but I think once you're like 12, 13, 14, you have to make a decision. But anywhere before that, maybe to 10 years old, expose them to all the different sports there is and have them figure out what they are comfortable with. And as a parent, I also think that at some point you would know by watching your kid play tennis, watching him or her play soccer, watching him or her play basketball, you should have an idea. You don't have to have a qualification of a coach to be able to see, oh, my kid moves naturally when they are in basketball, the way they throw the ball, the way they dribble. You know what, I'm going to push them that direction. I'm going to guide them that direction. So I think the adults or the parents can also see where their kids seem to excel and what comes to them natural and be able to guide them towards a decision, towards a specialization.
Right.
So,
Right.
yeah. I guess on this note, Fifi, I would like to ask you a question. That is, what do you think are the cost versus reward for playing multiple sports? Like, because you have a daughter who is nearly 5,
Yeah.
and you're going to have to make these
I know.
choices,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So, as a parent, how are you prepping yourself? Because this is coming up very soon. So how are you
Right.
prepping yourself for that?
Right.
The cost versus the rewards for your family and stuff like that.
Yeah. Obviously, we both understand that sports, it's a great way for kids to learn, to grow, and to, better understand their community and learning from each other. And at a very young age, from my background, I was pushed towards one direction, one sport, because that's all I saw. That was part of our culture. And so it was very easy for me to fall in love with soccer and kind of focus on that. But with what we've learned, even playing one sport and also coaching in it, it's very important to expose these kids to multiple sports. In the case of Afia, the goal is to have her try as many sports that she wants. Obviously, try basketball, try soccer, dance, whatever she's interested in, we're gonna put her to just give it a try. And I kind of, speak exactly like what you're saying in terms of at that age, they need to learn so many things, learning from their peers, being a part of a team, not just, limiting yourself to just one team and building that community. But in a different sport, they're going to have different players, different teammates that they're going to learn from. They're going to learn in so many different ways if they're on different teams. The other thing is emotionally, they're going to be able to, deal with challenges differently, because every sport comes with its own challenges. You play in basketball, it requires you physically, it requires something else. Soccer requires something else. Other sports require something else. So it gives you the opportunity to, better prepare yourself when challenges come, how to deal with those things. So I think in the case of Afia, we'll give her that opportunity to try as many sports as she can. Mm-hmm. And again, going back to what you said, at some point, she needs to make a decision about, this is my natural sport, this is where I'm going to dedicate my time. Because just like anything else, the more time you put in something, the better you're going to get. Yeah. There's no two ways to it. And so if you're somebody that's just jumping from one sport to the other sport at the age of 14, 15, and somebody at the age of 14, 15 just focusing on one sport, that's all they're doing, repetition and repetition, they're going to get better at that sport than you are. So at a very young age, and I think that's kind of one thing I'm trying to bring into my coaching, any age group that is, U8, U9, U10, U11, U12, like that age is mostly about development. It's about mostly helping them navigate through, the society pretty much. Challenges come, how do we deal with that? Really focusing on building their skills, really helping them to enjoy the environment that they're in. And so the focus shouldn't be less special in that sport and be the best at it. Because that's when it's like kids get burnt out. Kids get to a point where it's like too stressful. They're doing the same thing, and there's so many distractors out there. So there's a big value in playing multiple sports, and I think exposing them at a very young age will be good for them. And once they reach a certain age, like again, 13, 14, 15, they have to make that decision. There's a kid that I remember he played with club, St. Rebel Soccer Club. You remember Jeff McNeil? You might, yeah, briefly. He was Jeff McNeil was on the soccer team, and he was actually a goalkeeper.
Yeah.
Jeff McNeil now is a Mets professional baseball player.
Yeah.
So if Jeff is being pushed to special in goalkeeping, Jeff wouldn't have that opportunity to get to where he is now.
Right.
So him having that opportunity to, learn from different sports, maybe being a goalkeeper actually helped him with what he's doing professionally now.
It makes sense, yeah.
And so,
makes sense.
Again, when they are young, you just don't want to push them to one sport because you just don't know what is going to come out in the future and which path they're going to take. And in Jeff's case, baseball was actually his main sport. And when he got to that age, 14, 15, he quit the club and he focused on baseball. And now he got to where he is now. So
makes sense. Makes sense. So then let me ask you actually a question before you go to the next one.
Yeah.
How would you feel if Fia decides to become a gymnast? Especially you and your wife both being professional soccer players. How would you take that?
I mean, like I said, it's her decision.
Of course.
We will always have the TV playing and soccer going on and trying to kind of guide her to what we want, but ultimately we'll support her, whatever sport.
Of course. But I know in your heart of hearts, you feel like you definitely should take the soccer route.
If she wants to, I will still go support her in ballet. So.
Of course.
That's a good one, though.
Yeah.
So again, going back to our culture, going back to where we grew up, Nana, do you have any regrets in specializing in one sport? Do you feel like you wish you tried multiple sports, especially when you were growing up? Did you feel like, oh, I wish I got exposed to track? Because you were pretty fast, and who knows? So, any regrets there in specializing in soccer?
I would say I think from what your thoughts earlier, which is there are so many benefits in exposing kids to multiple different sports. I guess I wish I would have been exposed to other sports, and even if those sports didn't turn out to be what will set me on a professional path, or if I didn't become a professional in those sports, I guess I could have learned some of these life values in those other sports that, again, I didn't have the opportunity to be involved in. So I wasn't really exposed to other sports simply because I guess I was limited in the scope of accessibility to different sports. Like here, as we're talking, I guess if I have kids, I will now do what I didn't do, what I never had, which is I will expose my children to my future children to all the different sports and then see which one they excel at and then obviously guide them in that direction so that they can learn all the things that you talked about earlier. So no, I didn't have the opportunity to play other sports. And do I regret it? I wouldn't say I regret not being exposed to all these other sports. I think there's a value, there are values that could have been learned from all those other sports. But I think looking at where I currently are, where I am and how I turned out, I think I'm in the right place. I play the right sports because it's put me in a position where however far I got to, I am happy with all the life values that I learned through soccer. I am very happy with and have no regrets of perhaps the pathway could have, there are some regrets on the path which took me to where I currently sitting, because I think it's normal for everyone to regret certain things in their lives
Right.
regarding the path life sometimes throws at you. But I think I'm in the perfect spot regarding the sports that I chose to play. Why? Because it came to me naturally. It was easy for me to. There's a level of comfortability, right? There's a level of comfortability with the sport that I chose, or with the sport that I got exposed to, which I then chose. Because if I didn't like it, I wouldn't have carried on with that pathway. Does that make sense?
Right.
I would have found myself to veer off that track and gone towards something else that I liked more. But there was no hesitation when it came to me just sticking to soccer, specializing in soccer, dedicating those hours. And I truly enjoyed doing it. It didn't feel like a chore. To this day, it does not feel like a chore. And I think once something begins to feel like a chore, this is where kids start to burn out. This is where kids start to lose interest and focus, because they'd rather be doing something else. And I never felt like I'd rather be doing something else instead of soccer. And so despite me being limited in the scope of sports that I could have played or tried, I have no regrets, because it put me right where I need to be. And despite having polished the shoes, currently now polished the shoes and almost nearly putting them completely away,
Right.
I still find myself in the midst of, I'm still involved in the sport, which again, if I had regrets, I would have walked away from it and not even want to coach or impact kids or the next generation or youngsters with what I've learned through the sport. Because I love it so much and I have no regret, I'm still comfortable in it. I think I will get fired from doing a different job. I will make myself get fired from doing an office job, but that's not me. Soccer is the thing for me. So I think there are values, again, to cap off. There are values that I could have definitely, I think, learned from playing baseball or tennis. And unfortunately, we didn't have that access in our culture, in our country. But where I currently am, and knowing where soccer took me and the things I've learned in soccer and the relationships I've been able to create in soccer and the traveling and the places I've seen in soccer because of soccer, I have zero regret, because I chose the right sport.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's really good.
So on that note, Fifi, do you on that note, were there other choices, I guess, presented to you? I guess it's a segue from the question you just asked. Did you, because you mentioned in our previous conversations that you were heavily directed towards soccer. You were heavily influenced by your uncles and siblings and friends to go into the pathway of choosing soccer, because your grandpa will be playing Ibusia drafts on the radio and stuff like that, and of course you go play with your uncles as a young kid. For you, was there other choices, or did you just follow what everyone else was doing in your family?
Right. I think it goes back to, the lack of resources. Not having enough resources make it difficult to play multiple sports, because every sport comes at its own cost. Equipment, facilities and all of that. And our background, really, there were limited resources. And so, unfortunately, didn't have the access that a lot of kids here do have now, due to the lack of resources that my parents didn't have. So, but that's what everybody in Ghana was doing, though. Because of the lack of access, soccer is very prevalent. Everywhere you go, street corner, anybody's playing soccer. That's all we all we saw on the street. So naturally, you're driven by what you see. And so with my grandpa, with my uncles, because they play soccer every day, and me not being able to see them playing other sports, I had to follow soccer. I didn't have access to any other sport besides soccer. And sometimes, I always say this to my players, sometimes having lack of something or not enough choice is actually the best choice for you to make. And the point I'm making is because we didn't have those many choices, you're just limited to one. And what happens when you're limited to one choice? You have to put all your eggs in one basket. And you know, doing that also comes with a huge, huge disadvantage if things go wrong.
Yeah.
So that drives motivation, that drives your work ethic, that drives you to achieve beyond what you think you can achieve. You want to be the best because that's all I have. This is all I have. I have to be the best at this sport. I have no other sport to,
no other choice.
Look around and say, hey, I tried soccer, so mom and dad, can you put me in basketball? Or can you put me in tennis? There's no other choice. We didn't have that resource. We didn't have that access. And so putting your egg in one basket actually makes you very dedicated, make you very disciplined, make you push yourself because you know this is your only ticket, this is your one shot. And unfortunately, some of the kids here, too many choices makes you feel like, I tried, I don't like it. Mom, put me in this sport, and I don't like it. And sometimes they just actually need a little push. It's like, no, I know you didn't like it, but just like you said, you see that naturally they're actually good at it.
Yeah.
But just because their friends are not on the team or they just don't like the environment or they feel like they're being pushed too hard.
Yeah.
Now they're like, I don't like it. I just want to do this sport. And now you have kids that are going through the motion and they're not even specializing in anything. They might be good in 1 or 2 or 3 sports, but it's very limited because they don't have any stake in it. They don't have, just like I said, they don't have that all in one basket mentality.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, very flimsy. I didn't like it, so let's try it. Oh, how about, honey, how about you try it again? No. And then parents, obviously, you cannot force them, so you put them in another sport. They try for a few months, like, no, I didn't like the coach, or they are not so mean on there, I didn't like, They try a different sport. Now you get into a point where they reach 12 and 13, and now they quit.
Right.
Because there's no motivation, there's no drive, there's no, discipline there that they've cultivated throughout playing these sports because of all these access. Yeah. And so not having a choice sometimes is actually good to push you to get to where you need to be. So
that's a really good point. That's a really good point, Fifi. It's a really, really good quote. I don't mean to cut you off, but that's a really, really good point. And whatever you have to say, if you don't mind me, because your response is actually giving me a thought to just ask you a quick question. And I apologize for this, but
no, you're good.
Do you also think the fact that these kids, some of them waver back and forth because something might be challenging or just don't like the environment or it's just too hard, do you think their circumstance is a part of the reason why these kids behave in this culture, kids behave this way versus for us in other cultures, this is the only option to make it out? Versus a kid who's grown up, never even gone to bed hungry before. And I'm not saying go to bed hungry as in there is no food.
Right.
They went to bed hungry because they just passed out. They just came from school. They were too tired and forgot to eat. Their refrigerator is filled with food. Mm-hmm. They never walk to practice. We walk miles to and from practice, right, as young kids, because our circumstance is different. Do you think the reason why perhaps these kids because they have, number one, too much access, and that they could easily quit one and have several other choices, and parents have all the resources at their disposal for them versus people like us in other places where it's either this or nothing.
Right.
Do you think that has a role?
Yeah, absolutely. You're a product of your own environment. That's the fact. And if you grow up in an environment where you see so many options and you've been given to you, it changes your mentality. And sometimes you're a kid, you get thrown in by so many different challenges, and you're dealing with a lot emotionally and mentally. And so being a parent, trying to guide them to actually trying harder in something, I feel like in this culture, it's harder than where we grew up. Our parents didn't have to tell us, go practice on your own.
Yeah.
Like, again, all in one basket. We do it. They even don't come to our games. They are already trying to figure out ways to put food on the table for us. So all the responsibility it plays on you as a kid. And as a 8-year-old, 9-year-old, trying to figure things out yourself, it's hard, but it also makes you better and makes you grow up faster. And it makes you mentally strong. Right? And I feel like here, some of the kids, I don't want to generalize, is some of the kids are not mentally strong. That's why they quit on different sports, because as soon as it gets a little bit challenging, then they're like, no, that's not for me.
Right.
I want something else.
I've seen it.
So that's your product of your environment. So for long story short there, I didn't have the assets. I didn't see multiple sports. Recently, I've been, playing tennis, and surprisingly, they were like, "Oh wow, you're actually not bad."
Yeah.
I struggle at serving it because I don't know the technique. I haven't done it. But even getting to the ball and serving, they're like, "Wow, are you sure this is your first time?"
Right.
So sometimes you feel like, "Oh, I wish, I tried this. I wish I could have gotten better. I wish."
Yeah.
But again, I am where I am because of soccer, and I will always be grateful. I will always be thankful. And if I was exposed to many different sports, maybe I wouldn't even dedicate that much time I put in soccer, and I would be in between all these other sports. So, a lack of access, but I enjoyed the journey as we went along. With that said, Nana, so what are your final thoughts here? If a parent comes to you and say, Nana, I'm tired of driving my kids. It's very expensive, and we are literally scraping by because all these sports is too expensive, and I don't know how to tell my kid, because he sees other kids playing multiple sports. I don't know how to tell the kid that, hey, part of it that we cannot expose you to this, but we just don't have the money.
Right.
We don't have the resources. But parents are breaking their back, putting these kids in multiple sports, knowing these kids don't even enjoy. They are there because of friends.
Yeah.
They are there just because they want to try it, because that's what they see. If a parent comes to you and says, should I specialize them, or should I keep letting them play multiple sports? What would be your advice for the parent?
Well, I think at some point, everybody has to face the music, right? Mm-hmm. At some point, the mom and dad or the parents need to stop going around with what the kid wants and give the kid what the kid needs. There's a big difference between the medication you need versus the medication you want. I'll just give you a bit of a metaphor, and I guess that will summarize everything. Is if you were to ask a 5-year-old or a 10-year-old, and I'll try not to generalize, but I'm going to generalize in this situation because kids are kids.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm about to make, because kids have wild imagination. I'm about to make soup for you. Tell me your favorite things you want in the soup. Trust me, the kid will not be saying broccoli, asparagus, spinach. No, they will say Hershey's bar, lollipop. They'll be saying all the things that is sweet, but it's not good for them.
Right.
But as an adult, as the parent, do you when the kid is sick and you want to make them soup for them to get better, do you ask them for a choice? No, you don't. Why? Because you have the brains the kid doesn't have. You have experiences the kid doesn't have. You've lived longer and you've acquired knowledge of the world, which helps you make wise decisions, hopefully making wise decisions. And so you do not have to be asking the kid, what should you be doing? What should you be? Because you're the adults.
Right.
If you see the kid excels in this sport, of course, when they are younger, just expose them to all of it. And then you should be doing your homework. As you're taking them to tennis, take notes. The same notes you take and complain about playing time, spend that time taking notes about what the kid is doing. And then, okay, in tennis, he does this and this and that. When I take him to basketball, okay, he moves this. And you've seen the sport enough
Right.
on TV that as a parent, you don't need to be a coach to be. And I know what? The way he moves, the way it's natural. We're going to go this direction. Let me guide him. So that number one, you save yourself the headache because the kid doesn't know what they want. They're a kid. There's a reason why you're not going to ask them what they want
Right.
when they are sick. You give them what they need, not what they want. So in my just simple explanation, I'll just say, just be objective, take your feelings and the kids' feelings out of it, because part of the problem is parents here are more afraid of upsetting their kids than just being a parent.
Right.
Instead of telling that no is a form of a form of love.
Yeah.
You don't always have to say yes. And I think in this culture, parents are more concerned about being buddy-buddy with their kids and their kids liking them versus just being parents. So
Right.
have a pair, be honest, look at the situation objectively and say, listen, even if we have the money, this is where you excel at. We've tried all these other sports, make a decision. And I think it's this one, so let's guide you. So I think it could be that simple as that. Is the parents need to be adults, make decisions, and not leave it to the kids. Simple as that.
Right. I like that. One thing I'll add to that, I think you said it really well, Nana. The last thing I'll add to that is, if you're a parent and you're exposing your kids to multiple sports at a very young age, that's is
fine.
Absolutely a plus. Just have them enjoy it. No pressure. They're very young. They are sponges. Let them absorb all these different things. Let them get, used to their community, their teammates, making friends, learning from each other, helping them grow as they navigate through life. The other thing that I will also add is, at some point, you have to push them a little bit. Especially when you see they are good at something.
Yeah.
Yes, you don't want to make it all about you. So I'm going to put Efia in this picture. So let's say Efia starts playing soccer and, she's good at it. But then she's like, oh, I don't want to do it. As a parent, I would sit down with Efia and say, hey, all the different sports, maybe you have videos of clips of it. All the different sports. Look, when you're doing the ballet, look at how you're moving. When you're doing gymnastics, when you're doing this. But now look at this sport.
Right.
Like, do you see a difference there? And have them kind of think through and say, which one do you think you are better at? And which one do you think, if you are in my shoes, which one would you pick for your own child? Which one do you think? So kind of reason with your kids. Help them and guide them to pick the sport that they know they are better at, and helping them understand that what you are better at, what is natural to you, it's going to be, if that's something that you enjoy, that's your passion.
Right.
And that's the path that we're going to try and keep pushing you. But there got to be a measure of, you got to push them a little.
Right.
Just because they say, no, I don't want to, doesn't mean that's the end of it. You got to be, let's try it some more time.
Right.
I know you don't enjoy it, but let's give it a shot. Give it a shot. And just keep reminding them and pushing them a little, and not just giving in just because they say, I don't like it, let's go to this sport. Reasoning with them, helping them understand why this is better than this sport, because the environment, because how they move naturally. And you can also show them, it looks like you're actually having fun in this situation than where you said, oh, quote unquote, all your friends are. So helping them in that regard will be a good way to kind of push them towards, specializing in one sport. And so on that note, thank you again, Nana, for a very thoughtful discussion. And thank you to all our listeners, our viewers out there. And hopefully, if you're a parent, you learn a thing or two from our conversation. But until then, make sure to follow us, like us, and share this podcast. And you can always reach out to us too with any question that you have that you want us to touch on next episode. Thank you, and we'll see you in our next episode.
Thank you.
From Ghana to the US, we unite. African tackle, shining bright.